Why do you go ahead but come later? Main content.Why, Japanese small businesses, have they been in the house of American giants? It's because they've been thinking differently. They have a deep vision of the future, they know how to build and use core competencies, they have ambitions and know how to rewrite the rules of play. The booklet will deal with those fascinating issues in detail. 1. Get rid of the windmill. Will senior managers ever spend time thinking about the difference over the next 5, 10 years? Accordingly, competition rules, new standards, risks and challenges that rivals will pose. To thereby build a sense of need for renewal, build a core strategy, a sense of weakness of the enterprise to find strong solutions, create opportunities for growth, maintain competitiveness in the future. The tendency to change technology, demographics, policy regulation, productivity and quality of competitors at a rapid pace jostle business loi in restructuring and reconstruction solutions. But neither of them is the solution for the future. And finally, they're just in the spinning source of the windmill. In the face of the urgent situation, often companies cope with the transformation of organizational structure, cutting personnel, cutting operating costs, separating inefficient activities, increasing the efficiency of using assets. But this measure resulted in fewer employees, not increased output, making the enterprise lean and comfortable, radically exploiting assets. The enterprise return to basics led to the destruction of many lives, families, and communities. The social costs of restructuring activities are very high, especially the settlement of discharged workers. Restructuring rarely produces fundamental improvements in the business. Its biggest advantage is saving time, cutting personnel. It's like a corporate anorexic, it can help a slimmer business, but not necessarily healthier yet. Restructuring is ultimately just a dead end. The wise business will reconstruct the operating process, with the aim of eliminating unnecessary work, bringing all processes and workflows in the direction of customer satisfaction, ensuring the overall quality. Reconstruction hopes to bring more efficient operation. However, restructuring and reconstruction are simply payouts that businesses pay for not predicting the future. The real problem of competition is the battle between the follower and the challenger, the contemporaries with the innovator, the copycat with the creator. Future competition is a competition that creates and governs new opportunities, much more challenging than a chase. It is necessary to puncture the fog of unrest and develop an open foresight of the prime positions in the market of tomorrow. 2. How is competition for the future different? We are standing in front of a far-reaching revolution. It's the environmental revolution, the gene revolution, the raw materials revolution, the digital revolution, the information revolution. Completely new professions, which are in the period of gestation, prepare for birth. Existing sectors: education, healthcare, transport, banking, publishing, telecommunications, pharmaceuticals, retail. Will take place profound transformation. The future and present are adjacent to each other by an indistinct boundary line, they are inextricably intertwined. Those who drive the industry revolution, businesses with a clear foresight of where they want to take the industry and have the ability to coordinate internal and external resources to get there first, will be rewarded well. The future is not a discernment from the past. It should be competitive because the future requires not only a redefinition of strategy, but also the role of senior management in developing the strategy. Senior managers need to treat the business as a capacity portfolio, and ask themselves, with the unique portfolio of competence, what opportunities are we in a unique position to exploit? Most of the new, most attractive opportunities require the integration of complex systems, rather than innovation revolving around a single product. The difference between competition for the future versus competition because the current time frame, speed is the key condition. Product life cycles are shortening, development times are narrower, and customers expect near-instant services. Yet the battle for the future is fierce. Competition often takes place in disorganized arenas, where competition rules have not yet been written. Today, change is volatile and unpredictable. The race to the future takes place in 3 separate stages, overlapping. 1. Competing for a foresight of the industry and intellectual leader, to gain a deeper understanding of the opponent, gain the ability to prophesy about the scale and shape of future opportunities, and visualization of the future. 2. Competition to shorten the path of immigration, accumulate essential capacities, experiment, attract alliance partners, envision new opportunity arenas. 3. Competing for market position and market share, the battle for market share, market position within the framework of relatively clear parameters and value, cost and services. But to build the future, businesses must be able to forget part of the past. 3. Learning to be forget. Evolution is a slow process, dependent on small and unexpected genetic changes. Dinosaurs went extinct because they couldn't adapt quickly and enough to keep up with the changing conditions. Thankfully for corporate dinosaurs, the process of genome coding enterprises can transform in many different ways. Having businesses lose the ability to periodically reconstruct the process of genome coding will have to deputize their survival for environmental upheaval. Others, thanks to the genome coding skills of managers, help establish range and response capacity in specific situations. But to some extent, we are all imprisoned prisoners in our own experience. Without doing something to significantly increase gene diversity, business will find itself hard to compete with new non-traditional rivals. Genomic diversity is often the highest barrier to the most politically influential regulators. The bottleneck is often on top. They can't quickly remove the intellectual capital that is falling in value and not investing properly in the creation of new intellectual capital. As the competitive environment becomes complex and diverse, there needs to be a need for further gene diversity. Any business that aspires to survive must create right within its own organization a fair proportion of genetic diversity found throughout the industry. Another way to increase gene diversity for populations is to engage new members to cross-plant with former members through the recruitment of external managers. To be able to change their genome coding process, enterprises need to be careful not to screw too tight the screws trying to frame governance, and commit to maximize the correlation of the voices of different employees. The governance framework depends on the desire for understanding and humility. It is necessary to build a discarded organization. Children learn new skills faster than adults because they have fewer levers. The more successful the business is, the thinner its oblivion curve. The future has to become something as vivid and realistic as the present, and so overlay. Senior management must help the organization build an interesting view of both emotionally and intellectually about the future. 4. Competition on foresight. The essence of the competition on the foresight of the industry is to establish the position for enterprises to be the leader in the knowledge of influence on the direction and form of transformation of the sector. The trick here is to see the future before it comes. Businesses have to ask themselves, what are we going to provide, with what capacity? How to configure the customer interface in the next 5, 10, or 15 years? The foresight of the industry is not simply a flash from wisdom, but is based on a deep understanding of technological trends, demographics, policy regulation, lifestyle. That can be harnessed to rewrite industry rules and create new competitive spaces. But it's important to match the executive capacity. Any vision requires creativity, imagination. But if it's just an extension to the CEO's ego, it's dangerous. If you can't distinguish between the illusion and the foresight, it's even more dangerous. In fact, the role of the senior executive is to capture and increase the foresight that exists throughout the organization. It is often done, building new business project department, dedicated team, incubator project. The senior board is willing to engage in discussions about the future on an equal footing, ready to listen to unusual voices. They can always consider the other side of the problem. The challenge of competing foresight is to create a foresight where the future needs to be different, often starting from the one that is available, then returning to what must happen for that future to become reality. The enterprise must be able to expand its range of opportunities, treating it as a core competence portfolio, rather than a portfolio of independent business units. For example, Honda, despite startups with the motorcycle business, but Honda is not just putting its future into the sector. Conceiving itself as the world leader in engines and gear systems, Honda has applied this capacity to the production of cars, washing machines, gardening machines, marine engines, and generators. Every product or service can be broken down into functional elements, and the final way is to create new space when delivering completely new features, through brand new product concepts. The best foresight comes from a deep understanding of the customer, which gives birth to a new design. But, building the future requires businesses to do more than just satisfy customers but constantly surprise customers. Song Zakio Morita confided, "Our plan is to lead the public with new products, rather than ask what they want to have. The public doesn't know what's possible, and we do. The industry's visionary quest is to visualize what doesn't yet exist. When envisioning the future, businesses must find a way to go from today to tomorrow." 5. Building strategic architecture. To build a strategic architecture, senior management must have a perspective on the new benefits or features offered to customers over the next decade, on the core competencies that need to be developed to generate these benefits, and on changing the customer interface to help them use these benefits most effectively. Strategic architecture is not a blueprint, it can only create an overarching program for feature deployment and capacity accumulation. It defines what we have to do right now. It is the necessary link between today and tomorrow, between the short and the long term. Right now, the organization must see the capacity to build, customer groups, distribution channels to explore, priorities to pursue. It's an overview of the opportunity method plan. For example, in terms of the strategic architecture from the Japanese electronics company, the NEC makes it clear. In the early 1970s, the NEC began to feel that the media industry and the computer industry were gradually converging in some important ways. NEC has developed a strategic architecture that defines the capacity it needs to be able to exploit the opportunities emerging from the junction of these two sectors. NEC's ambition is to become a leader in C&C capabilities, computing and communication. The strategic architecture of the NEC is discussed to every employee, does not keep it confidential, but it does not reveal the breadth and depth built around the C&C concept. In 1992, the NEC became the world's computing, semiconductor and telecommunications giant. The purpose of competing for the future is not aimed at reducing risks to ambition. Experimenting with everything and not committing to what is the surefire way to miss out on the future. Investing too little when it's too late is less intelligent as investing too much early. To reach the future, the first requires more than a thoroughly conceptualized strategic architecture, and the competence and intelligence of employees is the fuel for the trip. 6. Strategy as draging. A business can have a lot of money and command a whole legion of talented human resources, but still lose its pioneering position. On the contrary, a business that can overcome the enormous limitations of resources has successfully conquered the leading position. So, to get to the future first, it's more about the ability to use resources rather than resources themselves. That comes from a deep sense of purpose, of shared dreams, of tempting views of tomorrow's opportunities. The strategic purpose is those dreams. It's full of life, it provides emotional and intellectual energy to the journey. Strategic architecture is the brain, then the strategic purpose is the heart. The tacit strategic purpose points the significant strain on the organization. It conveys a sense of orientation and a sense of discovery. It is the responsibility of senior management to make instilling lofty purpose, emotional appeal, and knowledge must be based on something that goes beyond personal financial gain. Each person needs to understand the nature of the link between his own work and the fulfillment of common goals. That is, the strategic purpose must be personalized for every employee. The first task of personalization is to set corporate challenges. These challenges will be dictated by the strategic architecture of the business. Its quality, its life cycle, its market, its mastering technology, and so on, providing employees with a clear view of the next challenge. The overall strategic architecture and purpose of the business must be grounded by a deep understanding of the potentials, the intentions of competitors, and evolving customer needs. Thereby, create leverage for resources, go as far as possible on the path to leading position with the least amount of data consumption possible. 7. Strategy is leverage. Through statistics, it is clear that the incredible labor productivity of Japanese manufacturing companies. Their operating costs are lower, judging by a percentage of total costs, than typical in the US and Germany. Efficiency of a direct correlation between R&D spending and R&D performance. This is not labor productivity but governance and system productivity. Japan is testament to how much more can be done with less resources. That's the nature of resource leverage. This is not just lean manufacturing, it's everything lean. A company's resources and aspirations can be described as sagging or stretched to thereby apply different methods to competitive strategy, and the level of creativity also varies in leveraging resources. Stretch and lever have a tight relationship. It is tension, that is, pulling ambition beyond resources, that feeds the engine to the advantage. Japanese companies are strategically stretched to help erase mythical colors in the success of leading companies, despite the initial resource constraints. To consider the path of resource leverage, we consider the starting axiom. First, the concept of the enterprise as a resource portfolio, technical, financial, human. Secondly, limiting resources is not always an obstacle to achieving a leading position. Third, the huge difference between businesses in the market and the competitive impact they can make with a certain amount of resources. Fourth, the effect based on leverage is achieved mainly from increasing the number in the ratio of productivity, revenue, profit. Fifth, the task of distributing resources by the senior board receives too much attention compared to the task of leveraging resources. Leverage of resources can be achieved in 5 basic ways. 1. Focusing resources more efficiently, convergence, building consensus with strategic objectives, focusing, identifying the exact objectives of improvement, targeting, emphasizing high-value activities. 2. Accumulation of effective resources, exploiting, using gray matter of all employees, borrowing, penetrating into the resources of partners. 3. Additional resources, mixing, combining skills in different ways, balancing, meaningful control of distribution and product development. 4. resource conservation, recycling, reusing resources and skills, cooperation, finding common causes with other partners. 5. Restore resources, promotion of success, simplification of payback period. Resources are often reasonably assumed and scarce. Senior management must take extreme care when dividing them. Visionary and strategic architecture provide the plate, as well as tensile capabilities and fuel supply levers. But even if these vital components are ready, the journey to the future is long and arduous. 8. Competing to shape the future. It is necessary to turn a knowledge-leading position into a market leader. Getting to the first future allows businesses to establish a virtual monopoly position in a specific category of new products. Allows enterprises to set standards and collect copyright fees from obtaining key intellectual property rights. Help businesses establish rules that other businesses must follow in order to compete. Coming to the future first brings great rewards, but also contains significant risks. It is irrevocable financial risk, failing to generate revenue and profit as expected, as the rush has outstretched its opponents. Also because the time is not right, the product is not perfect, the customer does not really need or want new service. However, any business betting that the pioneer will slip, the business itself is also playing a big gamble. To achieve that, 3 stages of competition should be identified. 1. Competition for leading position by knowledge, forming ideas. 2. Competition to shorten the migration path, actively shaping the structure of the future sector. And 3. Competition for power and market position, take up the market early or take more market. Measures needed are: maximizing the impact. Correlation is determined by 4 factors: alliances to build and manage alliances, success in building core competencies, rapid accumulation of global cognitive correlation, market lessons, and distribution capacity. The alliance has to be formed because there is practically no business that owns all the resources that make products or services bear fruit. However, the multilateral partnership should follow a clear cumulative logic. Because businesses that are partners of each other in the early stages of market development often become competitors at the end of that process. The management of the alliance requires careful balance of interaction and cooperation programs throughout the entire period, and a sense of ambition on the individual action agenda of senior executives. Competition for the future also includes competition that sets new standards from the back and forth impact of products and services offered by multiple sellers. Since standards are at the heart of competition, when a technology is adopted as a standard, allows businesses to quickly recover investment for research. Intel has withdrawn its investment in developing PC-oriented processors at a much faster rate than Motorola because Intel's x86 product has become the actual standard for the personal computer family. 9. Building a gateway to the future. Enterprises must have a perspective from today on the core capabilities that are essential to build the future. Because core competencies are the gateway to future opportunities. Core competencies are a group of skills and technologies that enable businesses to provide a specific benefit to customers. It has no product specificity, it goes beyond the product or service, it lasts longer than any single product or translation. The competition for the leading position in capacity usually occurs before the oil lead position competition on products. It's not a product for product war but a business to business war. Core competence is the source circuit for future product development. They are the root of competitiveness, and individual products and services are fruits. So, what is the capacity of the core? Competence is a group of skills and technologies, rather than a single skill or technology. It is the whole knowledge gained from skill groups and individual units within the organization. To manage according to the core competence of the enterprise, senior management must be able to disassemble core competencies into constituent components down to specific individual levels with specific talents. To be considered core competence, skills must meet 3 factors. 1. Customer value. Core competencies must contribute significantly to the value perceived by customers. The customer is the judge, judging whether a certain capacity is a core competence or not. 2. Differences from competitors. Competency must be unique in terms of competitiveness. 3. Scalability. The real core capacity when it creates the basis for entering the market of new products. Competence competition takes place at 3 levels. 1. Skills development and accumulation. Leverage resources at this stage mainly from the ability to access and absorb skills as well as technology from outside. 2. Competition to sum up competence. The absorption and creativity of integration have equally important roles. 3. Competing core product correlation. Many enterprises seek to sell core products to other enterprises in the form of original equipment manufacturers, as a way to hold virtual market share to generate revenue and business to accelerate efforts to build their core capacity. The sale of core products to the outside is a measure of efficiency to assess whether the company is a leader in capacity. where the core product flows in both directions back and forth, where every partner understands and works to protect their unique core competencies. Care should be taken to consider the long-term competitive implications and the nature of dependencies that will produce. 10. When enterprises cannot concept themselves and competitors in terms of core competencies, enterprises may face many dangers such as opportunities for growth will be cut off unambiguously. Enterprises do not have clear mechanisms to ensure talented people will be in place. As a result, capacity is curbed and wasted. When there is a lack of core capacity, the business will depend on external suppliers of core products. If only focus on the end product, do not invest in new core capacity, the business will not have the seeds for tomorrow's product crop. When you do not understand the core capacity base, the business will be surprised by new competitors. Businesses that are not sensitive to core competence issues may inadvertently give up valuable skills when cutting out underperforming business. In order for the perspective of core capabilities to take root in the organization, the entire board must fully understand and participate in the 5 main tasks of managing capacity. 1. Identify the current capacity. The core capacity is the soul of the enterprise. The management board cannot delegate the determination of core competence for technical force. Don't mistake core competence with other things. 2. Establish the goal of accumulating and deploying specific capacities, differentiating existing and new capacities, visualizing opportunities to extend existing core capabilities into the new product market. 3. The management board should develop mechanisms to allocate capital and manpower to reach the sophisticated, thorough, to ensure that the best person is working with the most potential opportunities. 4. The leading position in core capacity may be lost due to lack of budget, due to dispersal in the process of division, or when the underperforming business sector is cut off. 5. The board of directors should establish deep participation processes, engage the participation of units, establish priorities, clear management, rationally distribute resources, compare standard efforts to build the capacity of competitors. Build a community of individuals in the organization, seeing them as bearers of the core competencies of the enterprise. 11. Go to the future. The main goal of the competition for the future is to maximize the learning to investment ratio. Must learn faster than competitors about the exact aspects of customer needs and the required product efficiency. True learning begins only when an imperfect product or service comes to market. Expeditionary marketing is a practical method to scout the market of the future. Expeditionary marketing is how to reduce the time and cost of product reset, gain insights from the market, readjust and relaunch. Expeditionary marketing involves tightly controlled experiments, not unfounded predictions. Perform expeditionary marketing. The simple rules are: learn faster, cheaper. Hit the ball of new product or service to fly around the world as fast as possible. To achieve maximum returns for innovation, businesses must have the ability to strike a global head. Attacking the head of competitors or slowing down their global progression. This not only builds a physical presence in key strategic markets, but equally important is access to the most effective distribution channels in each critical national market. To stay ahead of competitors would be better if the company built pre-existing cognitive correlations with customers around the world. Any company with enviable brand status has a starting edge in the race. Pay attention to building strip brand, spread across products and business activities, helping customers transform their experience with today's products into interest and excitement with tomorrow's products. The core capacity is the enterprise foundation, while the brand strip is the enterprise roof. About the middle is the variety of business types. So, to attack the head of competitors, the company must adopt strip branding and build cognitive correlation on a global scale. With the increasingly strong economic integration, the removal of tariff barriers for non-tariff, the development of international communication, the international mobile customer group is expanded. The propagation, fast concept of business and new products among national affiliates becomes imperative for every multinational company. 12. Different mindset. Different thinking about competitiveness. Competition occurs not only between single products or services, but also between businesses and corporate alliances. Senior management competes in an effort to amass vision of new arenas of wide-open opportunities such as gene therapy drugs. Companies compete in building core competencies, alliances compete to create new competitive spaces. In the context of governance, genes relate to how managers feel about the industry, about the business, the role and the way in which these perceptions direct them to behave in particular situations, as well as the way in which managers are genetically coded to think about foresight, tension and leverage to power supply, actively build advantage and rebuild the sector. Strategic differential thinking. Strategic planning not only maximizes market share and profit in the present, but also the model that the business wants to be in the next 10 years. New capabilities, new core capabilities. It is necessary to apply new and differentiated resources to the work of building strategies, relying on the creativity of all managers and not just on the wisdom of a few planners. The strategy needs to be long-term, it needs to be ambitious and need to stimulate commitment. Long-term doesn't equate to patience money. Every project must have money invested, but on the basis of where payment goes there. Ambition does not mean reckless with risks but means establishing the aspiration to stretch, and then using resource leverage tools to reduce risks to that ambition. Commitment is the intellectual and emotional bet part for a specific perspective on the future that the board needs to ensure consistency and continuity. It is necessary to think differently about the organization, i.e., efforts to encourage personal risk, focus on personal responsibility, reverse the organizational chart, and put customers at the forefront. The senior management board should identify and exploit the potential value of the connections between units to thereby increase the value of collective action. Employees are cooperative, at the same time give individuals the freedom to design their work, comfortable action free of customer satisfaction. However, empowerment without a sense of common orientation will lead to chaos. Go beyond that. Opposing technology-oriented and customer-oriented must have a deep understanding of potential customer benefit classes. The aim is to surprise customers by anticipating and fulfilling their unstated needs. Not narrowly oriented to technology, the goal is benefit-oriented, constantly seeking, investing, mastering technology to bring unexpected benefits to humanity.